Hi, folks. My name is Girish, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. Today, we're going to be talking about relationships with money. Yes, we did talk about this weeks ago about relationships with money. But today, we want to actually talk about it in a different way. We did talk about how the credit score ruins your life and makes your life. We did talk about what you need to do to make and fix your credit score. But today, we're going to talk about money in relationships, right? Which means how do you handle relationship with your money? It is definitely a tough job when you are trying to pay your bills on time and get out of that circle rut and enjoy your life. Some people, they don't even do that. So how do we do that? And today I have a guest of mine and we're going to talk about the positivity of money. And those are the words and those are the languages that we're going to speak in this episode today. And hopefully Richard is the guest of mine, will help me towards this whole entire thing in a good way, obviously. And he's a great gem person. I spoke with him weeks back and including right before this recording. Let's chat with him and let's bring him on online. So Richard, how are you? And thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
I'm so good, and I'm so glad to be here, and I look forward to a very creative conversation about our relationship with money.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Richard. And before we get into the details of what we are going to be talking about and what we're not going to talk about, what does back to basic mean to you, Richard?
I missed the word.
Back to basics.
Oh,
What is
back to basics.
Yeah.
Well, this is really a great question around money. Because in our culture, our belief systems, our political systems, the economics, this becomes a huge ball of complexity. It's like a complex adaptive systems, that little things that impact other things. And as a result, for most of us, if we think about economics, our eyes just glaze over the Federal Reserve, interest rates, money supply. Oh my gosh. And then we look at paying the bills and our credit scores. Whew. What if we were to take a breath and come back to basics? And one way to do that is to look at value. And by value, I mean, what value do we deliver to others, to our families, to our communities, to our employers, our employees, our customers? What value do we deliver to them? And if we come down to the basics of that, then build up from there, everything gets a lot more simple. And we can discuss how that works. And I'm very excited to kind of look through that lens today with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. Thank you. Thank you again for answering that question. You know, let me ask you this question. And I've read this on your website and it said, do you have money positive or money negative mindset?
Mm-hmm.
So can you explain a little what that means, if you don't mind?
Sure. Let's look at two different stories.
Okay.
One person grows up in a family that's middle class, lower middle class. Mom is a spender, dad is a saver, or vice versa. They're fighting over money, and you hear it all the time when you grow up. You hear phrases like money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people have made the money off the backs of the poor. You hear that, wealth and greed go together, that dad has been fired from his job and it's just not fair or right, that money is the root of all evil. Now, you grow up in that day after day after day. Now, you're an adult, you're looking at the world, you're looking at opportunities. What is your relationship going to be with money? Even though you're adult, even though you know that those things are not necessarily relevant to you at this stage in your life, all those subconscious feelings and training are still there. On the other hand, man or woman or boy or girl grows up in a family where they look at delivering value as the hallmark of their lives. How do I deliver value to my employees, my employer, to my clients, to my customers? How do I deliver value to my family and my community? And then when they say, okay, I'm delivering value, what I'm getting back from that is certificates of appreciation for the value I've delivered. What a reframe. Now, a lot of your listeners are going to go, what? When I say this next thing. The more certificates of appreciation that you accumulate by delivering value to others, that is a measurement of value you're delivering to the world. So in the first family growing up, capital accumulation is evil and wealth. In the other family of growing up, capital accumulation is a measure of the value you have delivered. And that is a radical reframe that a lot of people listening to this are going to go, oh my God, I don't believe he said that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I totally agree with that actually, because not more and more I think of it, I mean, that's what people say. You know, when let me ask you this, because I know that people that get into the circle of paying bills and going to that circle, do you think the mindset should be is how to increase your salary or manage what you have today?
Well, I think the answer is obviously both. And I think about them a little differently. Like, well, for example, just today, my wife pointed out our our Comcast internet on all the peripheral services, and it was coming up to like almost $2,000 a year.
Hmm.
And we went, oh, we don't watch it that much. Oh,
Hmm.
I don't need this.
Hmm.
Oh, we don't need that service.
Hmm.
So she just cut it down to about $600 a year.
Hmm.
And we're still talking on the internet. So on one hand, we really look at our habitual spending, that if we, from our higher self and our wisest self, say, do we really need that? Or is that just a habit? We can cut way back. And especially, I believe, with inflationary pressures going to continue for the foreseeable future, we may see costs rising. My wife goes to the grocery store. Oh my gosh, the cost of meats, the cost of the basics. I know, go to the gas station, the cost of gasoline.
Hmm.
And I don't see that abating in the near future. So what does that mean in terms of cutting costs? So let's look at what's valuable. Do we need to watch that event on TV, on cable TV, or do we play cards with a family? My gosh, a huge shift right there. On the other side of it, we look at the amount of money that we can make and earn. And I'd like to reframe that to the amount of value we can deliver to others. Given your skill, your knowledge, your ability, your wisdom, your experience in life, can you add more value to your employer, your employees, your clients, your customers? And as a result, as you add more value, you're going to get more certificates of appreciation in return. So the answer to your question, I think, is twofold. What spending habits do we have that we can eliminate? And two, how can we add more value, which will mean more certificates of appreciation that we can charge?
So I think what we're saying is need versus wants, isn't it?
Well, it's I would even go far as to say, what do we really want? I mean, so much of our spending is just habitual, and we say, if we say, well, I want this, but do I really need it? Well, that sets up an internal struggle.
That's
but
right.
If we can say, what do I really want? What's meaningful to me? What are my values in life? Oh my gosh, spending time with the family and playing card games, or taking a walk in the woods or a park or around the block with my family, rather than just sitting down and watching cable news. If we can say, what do I really want? What's of value to me? Then we can look at our spending and see if there's a match or a mismatch.
Yeah. The thing is, people are, thank you again, by the way, Richard, for answering that question. But what I have seen, the trend is that people, they go away from cable television, which is live TV, and they go into on-demand programs. And the problem with that is, which is I see from the outside, is they keep on subscribing to multiple online on-demand stuff. So then it kind of adds up. So might as well just stay where you are then, right? So what are your thoughts on that part?
Well, again, it comes down to what is value and what is meaningful to you.
Yeah.
And most of us, again, are just habitually going through the motions.
Hmm.
And if we take the time and say, what really is valuable to me in my life?
Hmm.
What is really meaningful?
Hmm.
Now, this requires some introspection of some things maybe we've quarantined or pushed away, or emotions or feelings or old behaviors, or just all sorts of beliefs and identity systems that just no longer serve us.
Hmm.
And this is not trivial to do because it requires a lot of awareness and acceptance.
Hmm.
But if we're willing to step into that world, and then we can find out what's meaning and valuable, then we can look at how we spend our money to see where the matches and the mismatches are.
Yeah, of course. Richard, thank you again. You know, before we got and we were chit-chatting right before the recording, and we were talking about that there's a bunch of people in the US. I don't know about around the country, but let's talk about the US because I'm kind of safer that way because I don't know any other stats on that. But I'm pretty sure it must be a big stat. But people, they don't travel much because they don't have that much budget in their savings account. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, how much money can we save in order to go for a vacation, or do we need one? Because that could be traveling by air versus by car, right? And
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on that, Richard?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned before, travel seems to be a really big indicator of something more important to you. I don't know if it's personal freedom or just getting away or building a wider world. So if you look at travel and you look at the deeper meaning, what would you attach to travel for to look at to see what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, I don't know, making new memories, spending time
Mhm.
with family,
Yeah.
I guess exploring the world. I mean, those are the basic answers, aren't they? So,
Yeah. So if you say it's creating new memories, exploring the world, and those things are valuable to me,
hmm,
then you can start to look at, what is my budget? What is the money I'm making? How can I really get the experience I want
hmm,
as versus just spending money for a vacation? For
hmm,
example, if it's to experience new cultures or new lands, then you might find, if you say that's what's meaningful, you might find some ways to do that other than just purchasing a cruise somewhere.
that's right.
Uh, so it really comes back to what's meaningful to you, and looking at the deeper meaning of travel to you. Because for so many people, there's so many different things, and then to say, does that align with what's really valuable?
Yeah, because yeah, thank you again, Richard. For many many years, even before COVID time, I've seen people struggle going on vacations because of finance issues. But then there's also making memories for the kids too, which is also
Mhm.
needed for the kids. And you know how much of summer camp and how much of spring camp can kids do? But they do want to travel around the United States or even abroad if they wanted to. But thank you again for explaining that. You know, Richard, you have a workshop called Wealth Workshop. Can you
Mhm.
explain what what are the top three questions that people they come to you for issues, and how does Wealth Workshop help them through your program?
Yeah, so we have an application, Money Metrics, and what we do is we ask them this very questions. We ask, what behaviors no longer serve you?
Hmm,
What beliefs no longer serve you?
hmm,
What belief about your identity no longer serves you? And we just boom, 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 create a list.
hmm,
Then once we have that list, then we ask, what is the positive intent of that? For example, it could be what behavior no longer serves you. And they might say something like, I just hate going to work every day. And
hmm,
I just hate my boss and I hate my job.
hmm,
So then we'll say, okay, what is the positive intent of that?
hmm,
And the positive intent is I want more freedom. I want to feel free.
hmm,
Excellent. So then we say, if we want to feel free, What belief, what context, what behaviors do we create that give us that feeling of freedom?
Hmm.
And then what we can do is say, okay, I have a choice to make about going into my job. I'm
Hmm.
free to make that choice. If I step into that choice of freedom and making that choice, how then can I express myself there and give value to my employer and my fellow employees?
Hmm.
Now, what that does is it, excuse me, it reframes and puts it into a new context.
Hmm.
So we take the old beliefs and behaviors,
Hmm.
we look at the positive intent, and
Hmm.
then we look at a better way of expressing the positive intent. And
Hmm.
we have an application that everybody shares. So you bring up your your application. It shows you the old beliefs, behaviors. It shows you the positive intent. It shows you your new context and your new behaviors. And then they have little drop-down menus for every day or week that then they're color-coded. So
Hmm.
we can look at their chart and see how many reds, yellows, and greens there are
Hmm.
for all of those different things. And we can really nail it down. And what's cool about the wealth workshops is that you have a group of people that is really pulling for you. We celebrate every little bit of progress that we made.
Hmm.
And it's wonderful to be in a group of money positive people
Hmm.
that celebrate your progress unambiguously.
Hmm. Wow, Richard, thank you. Thank you again. I have two last questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
I know we've been talking about travel, and I know that we've been talking about what's needs versus wants and what do you really need, right? But with all that circle, they also have to save money for kids to go to college, right? So, what are your thoughts on explaining to people that is vacation needed, or can you do side by side and save money for college, or is there? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is a much deeper subject. I gave a presentation to the National Association of, what was it? National Association, of State Treasurers.
Hmm.
And I explained that the whole college thing was a scam because colleges have been raising their rates like 8 to 10% for the last decade or more.
Hmm.
And they've tripled the amount of administrations people, and as a result, colleges and universities have gone up significantly more than the inflation rate.
Yes.
And what's happened is the government has supported that by loaning students money. So you loan the students money to go to college, they raise the rates, you loan the students more money, and right now, this is what, almost $2 trillion worth of student debt outstanding,
Yeah.
and it's really difficult to be paid back.
Hmm.
So that has been a trap, and I would really consider other ways of educating yourself. And if you're motivated online, MIT has free online courses that replicate much of what they do in the classroom. I know there's the whole social aspect that isn't there. But again, say, what are your values? What's meaningful? How do I deliver values to others? What skill, knowledge, and talents do I need?
Hmm.
And can I do that with a horrible amount of debt? I think we're going to be in an educational revolution soon that's going to make that choice a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, Richard, thank you again. And one last question. I know that we've been talking about finance from the adult point of view, and there's a reason why I'm going to ask this question is because you did something recently. Uh, how how do we explain to the kids to talk about money? And I think you created something recently, so that's why I brought this question up. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, when my kids were little, I have three kids, two boys and a girl,
Hmm.
and she started a bank of mom. And the bank of mom paid a hefty 1% a month.
Hmm.
So the kids would put their allowance in or the money they made in there. And then every month she'd get around and they'd show them how much interest they made.
Hmm.
And as a result, all my kids are fairly stingy with money.
Hmm.
And they also had a small business. We brought them a shaved ice machine
Hmm.
so that they went out to little fairs and little events around the around the city
Mm.
and made money from that. They paid off the machines, so they understood what debt was. So having them as much as possible in the real world.
Mm.
And then rather than saying money is the root of evil, teach them about certificates of appreciation.
Mm.
That when you deliver value to somebody else, they voluntarily give you a certificate of appreciation. And each one you get represents something you have done for somebody else and made the world a better place.
Mm.
I know that's radical, but if you can teach kids that and teach them that the foundation of money is value delivered to others, man, you have freed up all sorts of internal conflicts
Mm.
around money and wealth and our relationship to money.
Yeah. Richard, you're right. I mean, this is just my 2 cents, and everyone, if you agree, disagree, I'm not really sure. But I feel that if we teach the kids just a little much, I think it'll be fine. And I think that's a better way to do it, right? And then because one kid multiplies by a million other kids, and I think that's just how it's going to work. One last thing, and thank you again. I know that you have a book, and then you have a recent book. So can we talk briefly about that, if you don't mind?
Sure. The book is A Private Conversation with Money.
Yeah.
And it takes you through the experience of Joe Every, who's a reporter or a journalist rather. And he goes through all the issues that I have come across with my clients over the last decade. And he works through them all, fights and struggles through them. And there's a character, Money, who wants to invite him to a better relationship. And there's 10 exercises that in fact, they're free online. What I'll do, in fact, let me put my glasses on here. What I will do is if you go to conversations.money/Girish, Girish, I will have the free online course available to you with the book. So conversations.money/Girish, and you will have not only the book, but the online course also.
Awesome. Thank you again with my honor, and thank you again for that, Richard, for that. And before you leave today, do you have any last words for all my listeners and my viewers about what we have discussed today, and how was your journey on Back to Basics before we leave today?
Yeah, well, this has been such a great conversation because I think what you've done is Back to Basics is so important. In that we get caught up in such complexities in life that are built on belief systems and stories that no longer serve us. But what if we were all to drop down to back to basics and look at what our core beliefs, identity, and mission in life is, and build from there without all the complexity? So I really appreciate the theme of this conversation because I think it'll do everybody well.
Yeah. Thank you again, Richard, for being here and supporting me on my small podcast. And my mission is very big, even for a small podcast. And I'm glad that you were part of that journey. So thank you again for being here and supporting me.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So guys, we spoke about money, didn't we? And we talked about the freedom. Well, what is freedom? That's one thing that we all need to figure that out. And that's your something to answer. But there's one thing that I definitely learned from Richard is that small information can lead a big way. If you teach your kids a small different thing about money, I'm pretty sure it'll go a long way. And of course, needs versus wants. What do you want? What do you need? Those are the things that you need to go and answer. And then listen to this whole episode because I've learned a lot of things on this episode, which is going to help me too, I'm pretty sure, to be a better person, that is. Now, as usual, as always, there's a quote of the day, and hopefully Richard will like this quote of the day. The quote of the day is, money won't create success. The freedom to make it will. So guys, as usual, as always, what do I always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. God bless. Keep on commenting on all my episodes, including this one, because it helps me in the long run, and I'm listening to you every single time for all good and bad comments. Those are the two things that I really listen to. And there are 3 things in every episode in this one, including makes it successful for me, that is, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. Guys, take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week on Back to Basics. Take care, God bless. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
Now, but it immediately stimulates ocean, right? It immediately stimulates movement, right? That's what we're really talking about. There's like a dynamic element to it. So there's like power, dynamic, and movement.
And finally, the original color that we had. So what are your thoughts on this color?
Yeah, so you got a bit of like a forest green gray type of situation happening. And so what's really cool about it communicates comfort and security, right, and safety. And so this lets you know even though it feels a little bigger because it's in that green family, it's like a real like visual hug. It lets you like there's like a strength and comfort